Hey everyone, this is MusicTechHelpGuy, and today I want to show you a simple way to master an EDM or pop dance track in Logic Pro 10. I'll also make this Logic session available for purchase with this unmastered track in it if you'd like to work along with me. I'll put a link in the video description below. So for this video, we will only be using the stock Logic plugins, so no third-party plugins here. I'm also not going to be as detailed in my explanation of using those plugins because I don't want this video to be an hour long like my last mastering video. So if you really want to hear an in-depth tutorial on each plugin I'm using, I'll link to that video as well. Also, keep in mind that this is not a de facto method of mastering. I typically use a lot of third-party plugins and hardware when I master tracks. There are a lot of different methods to mastering music, so this is just a good starting point for anyone looking to completely master within Logic. So the goal of mastering is really to finalize the recording for release and distribution. So it really needs to meet simple standards like proper trimming and volume standards, but we also want to enhance the recording a bit. And we could also get into the debate about commercial recordings these days being mastered way too loudly, often producing recordings that are loud but lack clarity. This is particularly a problem with EDM and other electronic genres because the writer, DJ, performance artist, whoever wants the song to really hit hard and also have the song loud enough to sort of stand with other material that's other similar material that's out there. So we'll be addressing the loudness issue in this video as well, but I'm going to try to do it in a way that doesn't compromise the clarity of the recording too much. So let's listen to our unmastered track and diagnose some problems and address some enhancements we can make.
They say that money can't buy you happiness. You must be spending it wrong, wrong. 'Cause all I wanna do is make that paper and spend it all night long. See, all I wanna.
Just gonna jump to the build up here.
So if you got it, give me all you got. Show me the money, babe, 'cause that's what I want. If you got it, give me all you got. Show me the alcohol, 'cause that's what I want. If you got it, give me all you got. Show me your loving, babe, 'cause that's what I want. If you got it, give me all you got. Show me the money, babe, 'cause that is all I want.
Okay, so obviously the drop is the loudest part. Overall, the mix is good. Everything's nice and balanced. The mixing engineer left us quite a bit of headroom, which is nice. That's always a plus. If there's not a whole lot of headroom, sometimes I'll ask if a client sends me a mix to master and there's no headroom. Sometimes I'll go back and ask them, hey, can you maybe pull down some of the levels on some of your instruments so that we can have some headroom for mastering. So we do have quite a bit of headroom, but there's quite a few enhancements we can make to the recording as well. So let's get into this. So the first thing we're gonna do is actually very simple. We're just gonna trim up the recording. So I'm just gonna trim this up. Just leave just a little sliver right in the beginning there, just fade that. And then at the end, let's go to the end here. What I generally like to do is I just listen to the end of the song, and then sort of when I hear the sort of the tail end of the music sort of start fading out, I just count 1, 2, 3, very simple.
'Cause that is all I want.
1, 2, 3, and then I stop it. And that's where I'm gonna fade it out.
'Cause that is all I want.
Now, when we start adding plugins to this, that fade is actually not going to be linear anymore. So we're actually on the master fader. We'll end up doing an automation fade instead. But I'm just sort of marking this right here as sort of the end of the where the end of the song will end up being. All right. So let's get into some plugins. Some of the plugins we're going to add directly to the channel. we're actually going to duplicate this channel for some reasons in just a bit, and I'll explain that when we get to that. And some plugins we're going to add to the master stereo output here. So the first one we're going to add is directly to the channel, and this is the channel EQ, or you can use the linear phase. Let's go ahead and use the linear phase. All this is for is just to control the bass. I know in this song, when I turn it up really loud and I listen to it with a sub, it has some bass management issues, some woofiness in the bass. So this step may be optional for you. It is optional. It may or may not be something that you actually want to do. You just have to sort of listen to the song really loud in headphones or with a sub and see if the bass sounds a little bit too woofy. Just one of the things I like to do is I like to kick in the high pass filter here, or low cut filter, whatever you want to call it. And I like to roll up the slope all the way, and then set this to like 23 or 24 hertz. We're just scooping out the lowest, subbiest frequencies that you're most likely not going to hear too much anyway, but may cause the bottom end to be a little bit too muddy. So we're gonna scoop that out. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to add the Exciter plugin that's under Specialized. The Exciter plugin is essentially a sort of like a harmonic enhancer plugin. It's going to make the recording a bit crispier sounding, but we don't want to use too much of it. So basically, there's three controls. It's very simple. There's the frequency, the starting frequency for the enhancement. There's two different colors. The color 1 tends to be a little brighter. Color 2 is a little bit more darker, but it's a very subtle difference. And the harmonics is how much harmonic enhancement are we hearing. So I'm just going to play the track and toy around with this and dial in a setting that I really like.
I get everything that I need, just make it extra. So if you got it, give me all you got. Show me the money, babe, 'cause that's what I want. If you got it, give me all you got. Show me the alcohol, 'cause that's what I want. If you got it.
Let me just jump to the drop.
'Cause that is all I want. 'Cause that is all I want. 'Cause that is all I want.
Cool. Just using a touch of it. I'm setting my frequency around 1400 hertz. Using color 2 and just a 8% boost. And you really you hear it, you probably heard it a little bit there when I bypassed it. It's really making the snares and the claps a little bit more crispy sounding. And so it's just a very, very subtle harmonic enhancement. Another thing I'm going to do is, going back to the linear EQ, I'm going to take my output level here. I'm going to drop it down a little bit just to give myself a little bit more of a little more headroom to work with, just so we don't clip. As we start adding plugins, we don't want any individual plugin to clip as we move along. So I'm just going to pull that linear EQ down, the gain level down, just so it drops the overall level of the whole track. And at the very end, when we add our mastering limiter, we'll get all that volume back. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the multipressor plugin, which is a multi-band compressor. And multiband compression, in short, just lets you compress different frequency bands differently. So we can compress our low end differently than our high end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solo just the low band, and I'm going to just compress the low band, then move up to the mid-low, and then move up to the mid-high, and then the high band. One thing I heard in this track is there's not enough bass, even though there will be a bass management issue when the volumes turn up too loud. Overall, like sort of like not the sub bass, but the sort of meaty mid-range sub bass needs to be a little bit more present. I want a little bit more bass in there. So let's just solo the bass band, and we'll just hit play, and we'll adjust our compressor here. So basically the way this works is when this plays, you're seeing two different meters here. the light blue one is the original signal, and the darker blue one is the compressed signal. Now, the multipressor actually has an expander in it too, but we're not going to use that at all. I'm just going to use the compressor. So here's the compression threshold, and here's the compression ratio. You can also adjust the compression threshold just by playing with the little sort of slider here. So what I'm going to do with each band is I'm going to kind of pull the slider down, not too far into the signal, but just sort of into the top of the signal, play with play with the ratio, and get just a little bit of compression on each band.
The bottle makes it better. The bottle makes it fine. The bottle helps me say exactly what is on my mind. It's the pills that make me stronger. The drugs that make me brave. I get them from the doctor. He says take them twice a day. So if you got it, give me all you got. Show me the money, babe, 'cause that's what I want. If you got it, give me all you got. Show me the alcohol, 'cause that's what I want. If you got it, give me all you got. Show me your loving, babe, 'cause that's what I want. If you got it.
So you'll notice that I am compressing the low end quite a bit more than I am the high end. And I'm doing that on purpose because, again, in EDM and tracks, dance-based pop tracks like this, bass management's always going to be an issue. So my threshold's a little bit lower on those. But again, I'm not hitting anything super hard. They're all sort of minor tweaks. So the other cool thing we can do is after we compress the signal, we can actually add makeup gain here. That's what each of these little sliders do. So we can sort of balance the signal, balance the lows. Like if I want more lows, you can pull it up, less mids, more highs. You can play with the balance of each of the bands. And the other thing you can do is you can adjust where the crossover frequency is. So we'll be playing with that as well. So let's just listen to the low end. Let's just listen to the two high end bands.
They say that love is one hell of a drug.
Now let's listen to all of them now. So it looks like our overall gain, our overall track is clipping a bit. Let me just listen to that one more time. Yeah, not even really by a whole dB. So I'm just gonna pull the output down by like at 1 dB. Really want to hear more of that mid-range bass. So here's the before. Sounds good, but not quite as present as this. All right, cool. So here's a little trick I like to use to basically break up the frequency bands so we can process each frequency band a little bit differently from this point on. Normally, when I master tracks, I'll use a third-party plugin from Waves called Vitamin, which allows me to kind of do what the exciter does and kind of do some of what the multipressor does as well. Not from a compression standpoint, but by balancing the bands. But also allows me to add sort of a frequency spread, or not a frequency spread, a stereo spread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of emulate that same thing in Logic, just using the stock plugins. What I want to do is I want to break up our song into 3 separate bands. I want to have a low and mid band, mid-high band, and a high band. And what we're going to do is each one of those bands, we're going to apply a different level of stereo spread to enhance the stereo signal, to enhance the image. So what I'm going to do is actually going to duplicate this track twice. And I'm going to call the first one low band. This one's going to be called high mid, and this one's going to be called high. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the track down onto these other channels. Now, right now, we just have 3 identical signals. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the linear EQ on the top 2 bands because we don't need the bass management on those bands anymore. I'm actually just going to pull out the filter there. It's not really going to matter. It probably really won't matter at all, but I'm leaving the plugin on just in case there's a slight latency issue between them. And at least if I keep the linear EQ on there, the latency between all 3 channels should be the same. Therefore, we don't end up with phase issues in the end, but shouldn't be an issue even if I remove them. What I'm going to do is on the very first band, the low band, I'm just going to solo the first 2 bands. And the second one, I'm just going to solo the third band. And on the high one, I'm going to solo just the high band. So we should have something that sounds exactly like what we just had before.
'Cause that is all I want. 'Cause that is all I
But now we can solo the bands from our tracks rather than within the multipressor plugin. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use a plugin called the Direction Mixer. And what the Direction Mixer does, let me just pull it up here. I'm going to put it on the high mid band first. It's under Imaging, Direction Mixer. What the Direction Mixer does is it does a couple things. The first thing it can do is you can be used to pan material left or right. It's particularly helpful if you're working with the stereo track and you want to shift the direction of the material, both channels, to the left and to the right simultaneously. But what we're going to use it for is the spread option up here. So let's just solo our mid band, our mid-high band. And what I'm hearing on this band is just a little bit too much density in the center. I want this to be sort of broken up a little bit more.
'Cause that is all I want.
So you hear when I put this right in the center, it basically makes the signal sound mono.
'Cause that is all I want. 'Cause that is all I want.
Cool. I'm going to do the same thing to the high range, the high band. Throw the Direction Mixer on there. And let's listen to the low band as well.
Show me your love and babe, 'cause that's what I want. If you got it, give me all you got. Show me the money, babe, 'cause that is all I want. 'Cause that is all I want.
I was going to sort of make the spread less than what it is just to make the bass a little bit more center, even than it is now. But you're hearing some instruments start to disappear when I go to center because of phase issues. And generally, one of the big rules of mixing is mono compatibility. You don't want any of your instruments to disappear because of phase cancellation. Well, in this track, the main lead on the drop is very, very wide and spread out and delayed. So it almost disappears when you put it in mono. And I've said this before, I definitely, when I mix like rock tracks and acoustic music, I always check my mono compatibility, but for like an EDM track like this, stereo effects are just part of the game, you know, and if you're listening to this on a single speaker, well, that's your own problem. If you're listening to an EDM track like this in mono, well, it's 2016. If you're not listening to something in stereo, that's your own problem. So, but yeah, I mean, overall, yes, you should have general mono compatibility, but you'll find in a lot of EDM and pop tracks that instruments will completely disappear when you put them in mono. And these are, big time, like major label releases will be like that sometimes. So it is what it is. So, all right, so let's listen to that all together. Yeah, I feel like I still want more low end.
They say you can't drink your troubles away, but I think that's fine. 'Cause I'm the party girl.
And the other great thing now is you can individually enhance each band too. If I want a little bit more of this exciter on the mid band, I can do that.
The one on fire. Yeah, I'm the first in line. 'Cause the bottle makes it better. The bottle makes it fine. The bottle helps me say exactly.
Cool. So I like that. Let's move over to the stereo out tracks, because now we're going to start adding things to the stereo out. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually throw just the compressor on here. And I'm going to use the vintage VCA circuit. This emulates sort of like an SSL, 4000 or 8000G channel strip compressor on the SSL analog consoles. It doesn't model the SSL bus compressor, but it does model the SSL channel compressor. So really, I just want to touch just a touch of compression on this. Looking for maybe 2 or 3 dB reduction.
Exactly what is on my mind. It's the pills that make me stronger. The drugs that make me brave. I get them from the doctor. He says take them twice a day. So if you got it, give me all you got. Show me the money, babe, 'cause that's what I want. If you got it, give me all you got. Show me the alcohol, 'cause that's what I want. If you got it, give me all you got.
There we go. Just to kind of glue everything together. And the very, very last thing we're going to put on here is also under dynamics. It's the adaptive limiter. The adaptive limiter is a mastering limiter. Basically means that you can set an output ceiling so we don't clip. I always set my output ceiling at like -0.1 or -0.2. And then you pull up your gain, and it will basically make the track as loud as you want it to be without clipping. I'm also going to make sure that the remove DC offset is on. This is a nice workaround. Instead of having to double click on the clip and take out the DC offset in the file editor or the track editor, this is an easy way to get around having to do that. So I'm going to make sure the DC offset is on. So let me just start at 0, and this is really where we're going to get our volume from. This is where we're going to get our gain.
So if you got it, give me all you got. Show me the money, babe, 'cause that's what I want. If you got it, give me all you got. Show me the alcohol, 'cause that's what
Let me go to the loudest part.
I want. 'Cause that is all I want. 'Cause that is all I want. 'Cause that is all I want. They say you can't drink your troubles away, but I think that's fine. 'Cause I'm the party girl, the one on fire.
Yeah, I feel like we still could have more bass. Let's pull up the bass band a bit.
Show me the money, babe, 'cause that is all I want. 'Cause that is all I want. 'Cause that is all I want. 'Cause that is all I want.
Cool. I was just making a few tweaks listening on headphones there. The last thing I want to do is I want to just check the levels here. I'm going to use a meter. It's under metering called the multimeter. And we're going to look at 2 meters here. We're going to look at our level meter here. We're going to pay particular attention to the RMS value that's going to be shown. And we're also going to pay attention to the correlation meter. The correlation meter is going to show us if we have phase issues. So if it's right in the middle, that means we have basically 0 phase correlation. If it's all the way to the right, we have +1. All the way to the left is -1. You do not want this to fall into the red. You want it to stay at the middle or higher. So if we end up having this fall into the middle, fall below the middle, we may want to go back and adjust some of these direction mixer plugins to maybe tame down some of that stereo spread. Yeah, we're good. The last thing we're going to do, actually, I'm going to do one more quick little tweak before we do this. I still feel like the bass is not big enough, and it doesn't have anything to do with the reduction we did down here. What I am going to do is I'm going to turn on my low shelf in the bass, the low band. I'm going to enhance the bass just a little bit. It just seems like it's not there, and I've got a sub hooked up too, and I checked it on headphones.
They say you can't drink your troubles away, but I think that...
Yeah, there we go. That sub hits a little bit better now. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to pay attention to this loudness meter here. We're going to pay attention to the RMS values. Now, the peak values are always going to be basically negative 0.1 or lower because we set our outscaling at negative 0.1 in the limiter. So nothing's going to be louder than that. That's the peak level. That's the loudest level. RMS stands for root mean square, which basically, in a nutshell, basically means the average overall power, the average overall volume. Sort of the industry standard is negative 10 for loud pop and EDM tracks. So we're actually a little bit lower than the industry standard. So let's just go back to the drop, the loudest section, and we're going to pull up the gain in a few spots to make that reach somewhat to negative 10.
They say you can't drink it.
So we're right at about negative 10 now. And I've heard recordings way louder than this, and I've heard recordings a lot softer than this too. That's just sort of like an industry standard nowadays for loudness. And again, we could get into the whole debate about, this mastering will actually sound better, with less gain. And you're right, it will sound better with less gain, but that's just the way of the world. It is, right now, everything on iTunes that's in this genre is going to be at this level, if not louder. So. All right, so I like the way this sounds. Just keep in mind that you're going to want to check this on multiple different sizes of speakers, with a sub, without a sub, headphones, earbuds. Really, half of mastering is just listening. So listen to your master on different systems and tweak your mastering settings so that the master sounds good on all systems. So the last thing we're going to do. Last couple things we're going to do is that stereo out track. We're going to right click on it. We're going to say create track. And we are going to add a bit of automation to it. And this is just going to be our out fade that I was talking about earlier. I'm going to automate volume on the stereo output. We can do the beginning if we want here, just in case there's some signal in there, but I seriously, that's going to make a difference, but I'm going to do it anyway. Just for my OCD, really. Let's pull that down. Just a little, quick little fade in at the beginning. And at the very end, where we said that we wanted the song to end and fade out, we're going to put a fade there as well. And again, just keep in mind that, when we start adding plugins on, fades tend to get, especially with compression, a linear fade like this can tend to get warped. So that's why we're doing this. So let's just listen to the end of the song.
'Cause that is all I want.
Cool. So the last thing I'm going to do is just drag over the clips. Click right here. Go to set locators. That's just going to set a bounce range. And we're going to bounce this thing out. So do Command B. And there's still a couple things left to do here. The original file that I dragged in was actually a 24-bit file, 24-bit audio file, 44.1, so the sample rate is the same as the session. But the format that we want to bounce this out at is actually 16-bit because that's the standard for WAV and MP3. Well, MP3 files don't really have a bit well, they kind of do, but anyway, that's a whole other story. But for WAV files, this sort of CD standard, the Redbook CD standard for bouncing to CD and distributing WAV files is 16-bit 44.1. So part of the problem with going from 24 down to 16-bit is the loss of 8 bits of information. So just in the shortest, simplest terms, anytime you go from 24 or 32-bit down to 16-bit, anytime you downgrade your bit depth, you want to make sure that you apply dithering. I'm just going to use the power dithering number 1. It stands for psychoacoustically optimized word length reduction, and that's exactly what it does. It optimizes the word length reduction from 24-bit down to 16-bit so that our recording essentially sounds the same as it did in 24-bit. So I'm just going to apply the dithering. I'm going to do an offline bounce, and I'm also going to choose to include an MP3 file. And I'm just going to do the highest setting. And this is just going to give us basically an uncompressed format and a compressed format, if I want to put this on SoundCloud or something and I don't want to upload a WAV file. So, and then all we got to do is bounce. And it'll bounce it out. We'll give it a name. It's going to bounce it to the bounces folder. And I'll just call this Gimme All You Got. That's the name of the song, EDM Remix. And what we'll do is we'll listen to both of those back to back, and we can hear the before and the after. Now, while that's bouncing, that's almost done. And the bounce only includes that little range that we made up here with the set locators. That's why I did that to begin with. It's going to convert it to MP3. And here's my session out on my desktop here. Here's the bounces folder. So here's our EDM remix. So let's listen to the original. It's in the audio files folder.
But we never let it stop. All the fellas love me. That's what I want. If you got it. Give me all you got.
And then let's listen to our mastered version.
Show me the money, babe, 'cause that's what I want. If you got it. Give me all you got. Show me the alcohol, 'cause that's what I want. If you got it. Give me all you got. Show me your loving, babe, 'cause that's what I want. If you got it. Give me all you got. Show me the money, babe, 'cause that is all I want. 'Cause that is all I want. 'Cause that is all I want.
Cool. Sounds a lot fuller, a lot thicker. Maybe, and again, after you listen to this for a while, you may decide to go back and make some tweaks. I'm already hearing things that I want to change in that. I think the mid-range maybe needs to come down a little bit. Some of the high range can come down a little bit more. But yeah, that's like I said, half of mastering is just listening. So listen to it, make tweaks to it, listen to it on another system, on earbuds or whatever, and make tweaks to it. And the goal is that so the master should sound good on all systems. All right, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. And if you want to purchase this session so that you can work along with me, I will make sure that I include a link to it in the video description below. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. Hey guys, if you'd like to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel to see multiple new videos added every week. Also, you can check out carneymediagroup.com, where you can view all of my video tutorials, search for specific topics, download the videos ad-free, and in some cases you can purchase session content so you can work along with me in the video. Also, please consider giving a monthly contribution at patreon.com/MusicTechHelpGuy. As always, thanks for your support and thanks for watching.